Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Building Campus-County Connections, our webinar series that's really intended to help build relationships between things that are happening on campus, things that are happening off campus, and help folks get to know a little bit more about some projects that you may have not known about. I'm Celeste Carmichael. I work in Extension Administration, Program Development and Accountability Specialist here. And I have the distinct pleasure of reading everybody's success stories and learning about projects and programs that are happening and funded through Smith-Lever funding. And given that, it's easy for me to see where some really dynamic and incredible programs are that everybody should know more about. So I welcome you today, and our guest today is Lynn Braband from the New York State Community IPM program of Cornell University. And Lynn is going to tell us a little bit about some of the programs that IPM has going on and focus in on school IPM and community IPM. So with that, I'm going to move over to his slide and pass the ball over to you, Lynn, and ask you to just say hello and introduce yourself a little bit.
Thank you, Celeste. Again, my name is Lynn Braband, and I'll need to apologize ahead of time. I'm on what is hopefully the tail end of a bad cold, so my voice may break a little bit over the next hour and interspersed with a cough or two. And be sure to wipe down your computer with a hand sanitizer when it's all over. But the New York State Integrated Pest Management Program of Cornell University, you see our mission statement and our website. Later on, we will be going to the website and looking at some selected things. First, I would like to just go over a very brief history of the IPM program.
Surprise, Lynn, I put in a couple of pictures of you.
And
tell us a little bit.
And so she has inserted those in. The handsome person on the right in the upper photo is Brian Eschenauer. He and I both work out of CCE of Monroe County office building, and Brian is one of our ornamentals educators, and we also draft him from time to time for community IPM programming, especially in things like turf grass management. And then you just see one of my pastimes with one of my girlfriends here.
Thank you.
So a brief history of the New York State IPM program. Funding for Cornell's IPM program started in 1972 when there was Smith-Lever funding targeting IPM from the USDA for every state in the union. And at that time, the fruit, specifically starting with apple and IPM and the vegetable IPM programs were started. Excuse me. In 1984, a sustaining effort in IPM for livestock and field crops was added, and the federal funding just had enough funding for 3 programs, and so it was in 1985, which in terms of the New York State IPM program is a really key time, is when we had the passage of a law in New York State which charged Cornell and the New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets to promote IPM statewide, and that's when our sustainable state funding, and that's been somewhat unique in the nation, and been somewhat envious by other IPM programs in other states. With this additional funding from the state, they were able to add an ornamentals IPM program. So through the 70s and 80s, the IPM focused, as IPM in general has initially, on agriculture. And in 1995 is when we marked the beginning of a sustained effort in community IPM. By community IPM, we mean that universe of pest management situations which are not agricultural commodity production oriented. And since then we have built our programs and our staff, and I just want to show you our current permanent staff. Jennifer Grant, excuse me, is the community IPM person who has been with the IPM program, the New York State IPM program, the longest. She is a turfgrass entomologist, and so turfgrass outreach and research is her specialty, and she is also co-director of the whole New York State IPM program. Jody Gangloff-Kaufman, and Jody, hello, I see you're on board here on the webinar, is the coordinator of the community IPM program, and she is an entomologist, and she works out of Nassau County. Matt Fry is one of our relatively new additions. He also is an entomologist with a strong background in structural IPM, and he works out of CCE in Westchester County building. Our newest addition, permanent addition to the community IPM program, who I see is also on the webinar, is Joellen Lampman, and she has been hired to specifically strengthen our turfgrass and school IPM and child care IPM efforts. And Joellen Lampman works out of CCE of Albany County, is where her offices are located, and then myself to round out our community IPM, current community IPM staff. Yeah, I would like to go to our
maybe this is.
I'm sorry.
Lynn. Yeah. I'm just going to interrupt you for just a second. This might be a time you want to open a poll and ask a little bit about our audience here.
Okay.
We were wondering, Lynn and I were talking ahead of time about some of the things that might be helpful to know as he's presenting a little bit. And so there's a couple of questions here. We'll open the first one, just asking about, Lynn's been talking about the staff that are involved with IPM and the length of time that they've been there, and we're just wondering how long have you been on board? All right, and I'm going to close the poll here because we have another one, and share the results. Okay, are you able to see those?
Me, yes.
Okay, good. So we have there's a mix here. A few staff who are fairly new, less than 5 years, and a range of other years. Okay, and we're going to open up the second poll, just asking a little bit about your experience with the IPM program. So go ahead and just take a moment and get some feedback there. And if you're new to WebEx, if you haven't participated in a WebEx webinar before, just know there's a couple of ways. This happens to be an event that's hosted through the Cornell WebEx site. In an event, there's less of a chance or an opportunity for interaction by voice, but there's other ways. So there's the polls, and there's also chat. So if you have a question at any time, please feel free to chat it in, and I'll make sure that that Lynn sees it and hears it, so that we can answer your question. And if you could go ahead and just, there's 2 questions there. You should see 2 questions. So if you could go ahead and take those polls, that would be great. All right, and I'll go ahead and close that. Got another couple of seconds remaining if you haven't responded. Okay, so you can see there experiences there, Len.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and I would like to just go to our program's website, and if you're not aware of it, again, that's a key regularly updated. We have a webmaster with the program who this is her job, is a major part of her job anyway, is just to update, refine, and work on this, and just want to show you some of the community IPM resources which are available on that website. Okay, and this is our website, and one thing which we would like to make you aware of in terms of collaborations, and by the way, whether it's agricultural or community IPM, within the New York State IPM program, we do very little that's not in partnerships with other people. And CC educators are major and important partners with us, as are others. I would like, and part of that partnership is that depending upon our level of funding, which varies from year to year, we do have a grants program, and which is one way which we either, relatively, well, monetarily small grants, but they help us get a lot more done, and in conjunction with again, with extension educators and others. And so I would like to show you what our current funding programs, the current projects which we have funded are, and highlight some things, some of these where extension personnel have key roles. You see Nancy Lerner with Albany County is the PI on this one grant which we awarded, and working also with Chuck Smith, Tom Gallagher, among others. Lori Brewer, who you are aware of, she has a key role with Paul Curtis's, and this is an interesting one of the IPM wildlife control for master gardeners and homeowners, and I know several counties, several master gardener programs in the county are piloting or reviewing, if you will, this project of Paul's, again, another one of our current community IPM grants, another one from Lori Brewer, money we've given to Lori Brewer on promoting adoption IPM strategies and plant selection and designs of lawns, gardens, and landscapes. So again, these are our current collaborations, which from our state funds, which we were able to distribute to this on a competitive basis. And look at the previous year to give you another idea of some other projects, recent projects that we have funded. This was in our 2012 projects, and you see another project to Lori Brewer, Elizabeth Claypool with CCE of Wayne County on community compost education. Walt Nelson with Monroe County had one of the grants. Tamissier and Marie Caminares with Suffolk County, and another one from extension educators from 3 counties collaborated on a grant last year on investigating an iron-based herbicide for broadleaf weed control. So again, it varies from year to year if we are able to have the funds to offer these grants. The last 2 years we've been able to, and we do not know until the state budget is finalized how much funds we will have, and of course we should shortly hear the governor's budget within a week or so. And but we anticipate if we do have the funding, then we anticipate that we will have another request for proposals this spring. So we'd like to keep an eye out for that and be thinking of possible projects. And if you'd like to discuss any possible project, we strongly encourage you to, beforehand, to interact with one of the community IPM staff.
So Lynn, the timeline for that is a request for a proposal goes out sometime in the spring, and that goes out through like CCE News or some other listserv?
A variety of, on the listservs in a variety of ways, and it's, you know, one of our, Mary Woodson, our writer, is primarily responsible for that. Another good way is when the grants are available, you just go to the homepage of our website. So if you check that regularly, it'll be announced then. And if you know if you are strongly interested in knowing when it comes out, you can let myself or one of the other community IPM staff know too. We can make sure that you are aware of it. But we do distribute through all the kind of the normal CCE appropriate listservs. I don't know if anybody else has any questions about the grants. I'm going to look at some other resources, particularly for community, again, focusing on community IPM. But this is new. This is a project of Matt Fry, and it's currently highlighted right on the home page of our website is an online pest identification key. And this is a couplet key. The difference between it is that it uses non-technical terms. And so it's oriented toward the, the homeowner, the public. You do not need to be an entomologist or to have your entomological thesaurus in one hand to look at all these terms. But we'll just, we won't go through a whole thing, but we'll do a hypothetical example. It's all online. First choice is, does the pest you want to identify have 6 legs or something besides 6 legs? And we'll say, it has 6 legs. And does it have wings, or we do not see any wings? And it goes from there. Okay. So the most likely pests would be on this. Okay, and one other community resource, I'm not being by any means exhaustive, but we do have a YouTube channel. It's up there. On the home page, you just click the YouTube logo. And Celeste, I just was thinking if, I would like to play one of these short videos. There's a series of short videos which Matt Fry produced on rodent management. But will the audience be able to hear it?
I think so. Let's give it a try, and we'll be breaking new ground here. So,
okay. Do I need to do anything with the volume on my computer or not?
I would mute your computer, and it should play through their computers. Because everything is voiced over directly through the internet. But if it comes through your speakers, it's going to be double sound. So we're trying something new here, folks. So if you want to give us some feedback in the chat about whether or not you can hear, the sound is awful, or you can't hear anything at all, please do that, and know that we are all learning together.
And just note again that Matt Fry has this is a series of 4 on rodent management. They're short, 5 minutes each. And I shortly would do the one on signs of an infestation, so you get a feel for that. So
these are directed at the public, right? Am I?
These are right on our website, right?
Mm-hmm. And the idea is that the audience for these is the public, not necessarily extension educators. Is that correct?
But it's not limited to extension educators, but they definitely can use them.
Yeah.
But they're not. Well, the ones, at least the community ones, are not highly technical or anything like that. most of these videos are agricultural, but we do have another community IPM one on with Jennifer Grant on how to assess your lawn for white grubs. Okay.
No, I'm just thinking that some associations, if depending on your audience and interest, might have direct links to some of these resources. These are terrific.
This is one, I don't think it was not produced by us, but we mounted it, and this is an interesting mouse entry points, and using domestic mice, which are the same species as the house mouse, and it's just kind of an interesting thing, just actual films. We won't look at it now, but that what size openings they can actually get through. Okay, let's look at the signs of an infestation. So there's no like to have any volume, right?
Just after sundown and just before sunrise. Determine their
Lynn, we
activity
can't
and estimate
see anything playing here at all.
The first sign of a rodent infestation.
Can you hear that?
Is
I can hear it, but we can't see anything. There's nothing in the video screen.
Oh, no video?
No.
Okay.
The size and shape of droppings can help you determine which
we'll just stop that
rodent is present in your home or office. Pictorial keys are available from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, and help to differentiate between several types of droppings. For example, droppings with blunt ends that are larger than 1/3 of...
Oh, there we go. Now it's working.
Oh, it's working? Okay. When I went full screen, it wasn't working, so maybe we don't go full screen, huh?
Right.
Okay.
...an inch belong to adult Norway
There you
rat,
go.
whereas smooth droppings, about 1/4 of an inch in length, with at least one pointed end, are from the house mouse. Droppings left by other pet species can sometimes be confused with rodent poop. For instance, cockroach droppings are about the same size and shape as mouse poop. However, striations that are present on the droppings of cockroaches are used to differentiate the two. In rodent control programs, the bait that is used can often change the color of rodent droppings. In this case, green droppings indicate that the bait has been consumed, and chances are this rodent is already dead. In addition to pest identification, droppings tell us where rodents have been and are considered by some experts to be the roadmap of rodent activity. As rodents navigate from their nest to food source, they defecate, or poop, also leaving tiny droplets of urine and a second sign called grease marks. Together, these cues tell other rodents where to find food or shelter, with commonly used trails having more droppings and thicker grease marks. Following droppings or grease marks can lead you to where rodents have entered the building, where they are nesting, or potential food and water sources. Where these marks are absent, inspections can sometimes reveal the presence of footprints in the dust. As we will see in subsequent modules, trails left by rodents provide an optimal place for rodent control devices. A third sign left by rodent populations are gnaw marks from chewing. Rodents may chew on objects for a number of reasons, but typically do so to obtain actual or perceived resources. It is hypothesized that rodents chew on wires because these mimic twigs, which can provide insect food items or fluids for drinking. In other instances, rodents will make commonly used openings larger for easier access to their nest or food source. Rats in particular can chew through thick plastic of dumpster lids to obtain food sources. This chewing wears down their teeth, which can grow up to 0.4 millimeters per day. Like droppings, gnaw marks can be used to identify your pest. If marks left by a pair of teeth are 1 to 2 millimeters wide, you likely have mice, whereas pairs of teeth that are 3.5 to 4 millimeters wide were probably from rats. In suburban areas or urban parks, rodent burrows constitute a fourth indicator of an infestation. Norway rat burrows have a typical structure, including a main entrance and 1 or 2 bolt or escape holes. Burrow openings that are 1.5 to 3 inches in diameter with a smooth appearance are likely to be active. By stuffing burrows with paper or collapsing the opening, you can confirm that a burrow is active by rechecking the next day. An estimate of the rodent population in an area can be obtained using the following formula. This equation takes into account the 3 openings per burrow and the average number of rodents in a family unit. This number, however, is only an estimate, as resource availability and control tactics will change rodent population dynamics. In this module, we learned about the 4 common signs of a rodent infestation and how this information can be used to determine rodent entry points, nest sites, and food sources. In the next module, we're going to talk about trap selection and placement to enhance rodent control. Please visit our website for additional information on these topics. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, that's great. I'm glad I'm not eating breakfast right now, but
Yeah.
that's very, it's great to have those there, and there's a lot of information. You did a great job with those.
Yeah. Celeste, it can be rather disconcerting to have a meal with pest management people, for those who are involved daily with pest management. Okay, so that's some of the things which are available on our website, particularly in the community IPM. I would now like to narrow the focus, particularly to what I have spent most of my time over the last decade with, and that's with school IPM outreach. Pest management and pesticide use in schools has gotten increased attention over the last couple of decades, just not in New York State, but nationwide. And I see that Celeste has put up some other polling questions, and so should we go with those, Celeste?
Well, it can. There's, you know, if you want to give people a couple of moments to answer those, that would be great. Well, it looks like I didn't put any answers with number 4 there, so my apologies about the school personnel approaching about turf and grounds management. But I think you'll have a chance to talk about that a little bit. Is that right?
Sure, and
yeah,
maybe we can even come back to that. See, let me think about it a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I just kind of highlight some, or point out some highlights. Whoops, there we go. There's the results, right?
Yep.
Okay. So looks like roughly half of our audience have been approached by a school about a pest problem. And roughly 2/3 are aware of the Child Safe Playing Field Act. And looks like we could need more understanding about the implication of that act. But looks like no schools have approached our current audience about how to manage their turf under the act.
Well, that was the one I didn't have an answer on, so they didn't have a chance to actually answer that question. So.
Oh, okay, no answer. I see. Okay,
no
good
answer.
Enough.
Yeah.
Well, if you for those of you who are not aware of the Act, this was an Act passed, I believe, in 2010, came in force in 2011, if I recall correctly, it greatly restricts the use of pesticides on school grounds, not for school buildings, so not structural pest management, that's not affected, but on school grounds, wherever children may potentially occur. And so where schools have been particularly interested or concerned about this is of course, managing their athletic fields, playgrounds, and things like that. Again, some highlights of our school outreach program by the New York State IPM program. We had some specific projects before 1998. Jody and I came on in 1999, but in 98 and 99 was the first really big initiative. And with US EPA funding, this was a partnership between our program and the New York State DEC, which resulted in statewide outreach, a series of workshops throughout the states over that 2-year period, and also the production of a manual entitled the IPM Workbook for New York State Schools. That's hard copies of this manual are probably kind of hard to find right now. Every school district in the state at the time, the DE sent a copy of the manual during that 98, 99 time period. And so schools may very well have it, at least on their shelf. And, excuse me, it is on our website. It's not very interactive. In other words, you can't go quickly to one chapter. You just have to scroll through everything. Although it was one of the first in the nation, we really don't have any plans to update it because there's been a lot of other good resources that we can use which have developed in the last couple of decades. Another highlight of our IPM outreach program is that we partnered with the New York State's Department of Health and Education, and also with some funding contracted with the New York Agricultural Statistics Service, and we surveyed the pest management excuse me, policies and practices of all the public school districts, including the BOCES districts in the states. That resulted in the publication Pest Management Practices, a survey of public school districts in New York State. So that was that survey was done in 2001, and that is also on our website. We followed up with that with a series of on-site interviews. These were at school districts and over a several-year period. And particularly with this, many extension educators helped me with this in terms of lining up schools I could interview in this area. Over this several-year period, I interviewed on-site with the person who's responsible for the pest management in their school district. Usually it was the school facilities manager, also known as the superintendent of buildings and grounds, but it varied. Now these were not randomly selected. They were distributed throughout the state, these interviews. So from the Adirondacks to New York City, to other major cities, to suburban areas, to other rural areas. But I made no effort to get a random sample as such. But they did provide both the 2001 survey and these on-site interviews did provide a basis of information for our program, particularly myself, in terms of my programming and outreach to school over the next decade. Subsequently, and through currently, we've had a variety of outreach workshops, either partially or primarily oriented towards school audiences, and many extension educators were involved in helping me to organize and host these. One major project, which definitely was a collaboration with 3 county associations, is that I received funding for what are referred to as a learning community approach to promoting school IPM. The model for this was both our agricultural tag teams that we have within the IPM program, and also within Extension, at least at the time, there was a forest alternative products learning community between New York and which involved New York and Pennsylvania. And the concept behind this is taking a teamwork approach where we worked with 4 school districts, 3 extension associations. So see Rick Harper, who at the time was with Westchester County Extension, Teresa Ruzinek at the time was with Putnam County Extension, and Rose Bagley with Orange County Extension. 4 school districts within those 3 counties are members of our New York State IPM program. See Gary Couch right here, and among others. And 2 people who we referred to as who worked for school districts. One, Dan Dickerson with the New York City Department of Education, and Kevin Trotta with North Rockland School District, who were our peer mentors. And with this team, what we did was using an on-site assessment procedure, which was developed by the IPM Institute. We did on-site assessments of the policies and pest management practices of the 4 school districts, wrote up the results of the assessment with recommendations, highlighting strengths with recommendations, and then over a year and a half, the school districts worked on these recommendations, and then toward the end of the 2-year period, we did a second assessment, on-site assessment of the schools, focusing on those things which were highlighted in the initial assessment. And then one of the school districts hosted a workshop where school districts from throughout the lower Hudson River Valley were invited to attend and to learn about school IPM, specifically in the projects that are going on in those schools. And one of the school districts was awarded the quite prestigious award by the IPM Institute called the STAR certification, which acknowledges this is Monroe Woodbury School, right and this slide right here is from Monroe Woodbury, as this one too. The IPM STAR certification acknowledges attaining a high level of IPM implementation. Another pretty significant project that we had, which was also a collaboration with extension educators, and this was particularly came out from my interviews throughout the state, was that rural school districts, particularly rural school districts in the Adirondacks, often felt that they were at a disadvantage in receiving service, both service from our program and other programs. And so working with extension associations in both these districts in the North Country, and see Nancy Welch was a key collaborator on this. She's on the webinar, as was Amy Ivey with Clinton County CCE. We developed 2 workshops of particularly targeting the needs of for IPM implementation for Adirondack school districts. And we have also worked with school districts, with extension associations and others in demonstration projects where we partner with a particular school district to do a trial implementation of a particular pest management technique, and then toward the end of the demonstration to invite other schools plus others to come and discuss the results of this implementation, So over here, we see use of alternative means of weed management, or the hot water machines and controlling weeds on pavement in a school district. We see Chuck Smith with Albany County Extension, who was involved just fairly recently with a demonstration project with a school district in Albany County on using the lower toxicity herbicides, which are exempt from the Child Safe Playing Field Act, these plant essential oil herbicides on seeking to control weeds along a fence line. And then here is a demonstration project on proactive stinging insect management that we did with a school district in Livingston County, and we also did these with school districts in Albany County. So we've had several of these demonstration projects that, again, we work with collaboration with school districts particularly, and often with CCE educators. Just to describe some of our current and future projects, we have I have a grant which we are developing an online document for school IPM best management practices. The major audience of those are who we're referring to as the end users of IPM, those who actually implement IPM in schools, the custodians, the pest management technicians, and the groundkeepers. So that's a year's project, which will be ending in a couple of months. Dave Chinnery with Cooperative Extension helped us with a workshop, a New York State workshop, highlighting this document recently. And we're repeating the 2001 statewide school IPM survey. It's an online survey this time. Again, we're partnering with our same partners as before. And in this survey, one challenge is that we had about an 80% return rate in the 2001 survey, while we have a lot lower return rate on this online survey. I think people are getting tired of online surveys, but anyway, we will be analyzing that information shortly and publishing it. And we are going to revisit our outreach to rural school districts, as we did when we partnered with Nancy Welch and Amy Ivey and others in the Adirondacks. And this time, and we have some Smith-Lever funding for this, and we've already started some collaborations with both these districts and CCE associations in the Southern Tier and the Catskills. Another project is that we've long acknowledged that although we've worked a lot with the public schools, we have the non-public schools. Several years ago, one figure the then governor of the state threw out was that 30% of our students in the state attend non-public schools. And we've tried in a variety of ways to get some sort of outreach to non-public schools, kind of a tough nut to crack, but it's like we're finally on track to working with the Rochester area Catholic Diocese for an outreach project. Another current project is the development of what referred to as a school IPM assessment tool. Sometimes we just refer to this as an 8 metrics. I referred to the rather lengthy assessment from the IPM Institute that we use, the Learning Community Project. That's very, very labor intensive. We're talking about days. There's no way with the hundreds of school districts that we have in the state that we can provide a service just using something as exhaustive as that. That's always available, especially for those who would like to go for STAR certification. But we are developing something shorter, which the idea that with, like maybe a half day on-site visit, we would not get a comprehensive picture of the school's pest management program, but we would get a good picture. And we also plan to have this online on our website so that a school district can do their own self-assessment. So that's a current project ongoing. And finally, a future project is that I did this when I first came on board in 1999, but I plan to survey primarily by phone, both these health and safety officers and cooperative extension county educators on what they perceive that school IPM needs of their constituencies are to help guide them and to fine-tune, if you will, our continued outreach.
So, Lynn, there's information about all of those programs that you're working on right now on your website. Is that right?
Not all of them, no. If you're interested in, if you are interested in more in any of these, why don't you just email me?
Okay. All right. So, are there questions that people have? I don't see anything that's come in through the chat, but if anybody does have a question, or if you would like to, if you would like to I can open your audio up and unmute you individually. So if you have a question you want to ask Lynn, let me know that. And you can do that by chat, or you can, I think you can raise your hand up above. Questions that people have? Okay, Nancy Welsh has her hand raised. So Nancy, let me try unmuting you and see how that works. Okay, Nancy?
Hello, Nancy.
I know that Nancy wasn't sure if she was going to have audio because she's called in by computer, so she may not have a microphone.
Okay.
So
I might mention that this last slide is a picture of a small flock of geese on a playing field at a school district, and geese at schools are an up-and-coming issue. And Nancy has recently been interacting with myself and Paul Curtis and others on not limited to schools, but an outreach program in Hamilton County on goose management.
All right. Are there others? Other questions? All right. I really, as I said before, Lynn, the videos and the identifying a pest, that kind of information that's direct for consumers, I can imagine that an association would be interested in promoting those parts of your website, and I'm assuming that that is A-okay for associations to do that?
For example, Matt Fry's rodent series would, to my way of thinking, be a good one for Master Gardener training.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, very good. Excellent. Anyone else? We'll give you one more chance. So if you want to, you can either raise your hand or chat in a question. All right. Nancy Welsh writes in, ask Lynn when school programs will begin. Did you hear that, Lynn?
Yes. I guess I need a little bit more specificity. Which school program? Like the rural school outreach, or?
So Nancy, if you can provide a little bit more, and IPM for local schools is what she says.
Okay. And I know she did email me privately. She's interested in coming back to her, the Adirondacks, to do it again. So we can definitely discuss that. Nancy, why don't you, excuse me, drop me an email or give me a call and we can discuss it.
All right.
That invitation is open to anybody too.
Excellent.
We are not uncommonly approached by extension educators, both these health and safety officers, about partnering with them, on a workshop they have in mind. And, that's part of what we do.
Right, and Bev Mancuso, I can't tell. It looks like you may have a question, so I'm going to unmute you. And if you do, and if you have audio, please do share. Bev?
Hi, Celeste. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, so actually I just made a comment that I really appreciate all this information, and the links to all of these is great. And as a lot of us are revising our website, I think this is a great opportunity to make sure we link to the IPM.
Glad to hear
That's
that.
all. Thank you.
Thanks, Bev.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Then I'm going to steal this little ball back here and just share with folks, you know, again, Campus County Connections are kind of what cooperative extension is all about, and there's been initiatives in the last couple of years to just re-emphasize that and help folks know that anyway, even though travel is tight, budgets are tight, we're not face-to-face as much as we used to. Any way that we can help build relationships and share amongst each other the good and the rich work that's being done between research and extension, we certainly want to do that. And I want to just promote the upcoming Campus County Connection webinars. There is a date that's being talked about for an energy-related Campus County Connection webinar that's not on here yet, but next up in early February, Harvest New York is going to do a webinar, and then we have Ag Economics, evaluating the economic impacts of food hubs as the practitioner's approach. So that's coming from the PWT. So if you're not involved in a program work team, there's lots of wonderful program work teams that also contribute to really good, rich relationships between campus and county. So I would encourage that. Childhood obesity, we've got a couple of youth development webinars coming up in late spring, one on STEM, overcoming the obstacles of science, technology, engineering, and math, and then getting youth engaged in the environment. And that's what's on the schedule up and coming. So I want to thank everybody for participating. Lynn, I really want to thank you for participating. You may hear Lynn coughing a little bit, but you didn't hear him a couple of days ago when he just sounded terrible, and we weren't really sure that today was going to even happen. So thanks for sticking it out with me here, Lynn, and this was really interesting. There's lots of good resources for counties to use. Certainly appreciate what you've offered and what you've shared here. Any closing remarks, Lynn?
No, it's been fun listening too.
All right, super. Well, stay warm, everybody. Have a great day. And if you have any follow-up or questions, feel free to get in touch with Lynn directly, or you can certainly send something to me, Celeste Carmichael. Thanks again for participating. Bye-bye.
Bye.